In this video review, I'm going to be going over some content that came across my Twitter feed. I don't know what year this video was shot, but obviously it's older because Kevin Samuels, as we know, is no longer with us. It may have been 2022 or 2023. I think Kevin's viral moment happened the year before he died, back in 2022. So this may have been 2022 or 2023. But the reason why I find this video relevant is because a lot of black women, as we know, were the main detractors of Kevin Samuels' content and what he stood for. And it's always refreshing when you hear a female actually take accountability. And there are more and more females taking accountability, but it's still a lot that don't. And there are a lot of females that are never going to take accountability. And we just have to accept that you're going to always have stubborn, bullheaded women out there, and they're going to get left behind, and that's just the way it works. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play the clip. I'm going to interrupt a few times just to go over some of the content. And there are also two black male simps on the panel and one other black female. So it's really 3-on-1. It's three individuals that disagree with Kevin Samuels' content and think Kevin Samuels' content is toxic. And then there's one that thinks that Kevin Samuels' content was spot on. So I'm going to go ahead and start it, and we'll go ahead and go into it.
And now joining us today, we have Rich Dallas from Love and Hip Hop New York, Professor Eric Gordon from The World According to Eric, motivational speaker Shalakemia Moffett, and Tiffany Robinson. Also joining us, our entertainment correspondent Kennedy Rue, also tapping in. Before we get started, we want to let you guys know we did reach out to Kevin Samuels to invite him on our platform and to be part of this conversation, but he did not get back to us. But we felt strongly about this topic that we wanted to continue the conversation. So thank you all for joining us. My first question is Kevin Samuels destructive or constructive for the culture?
He's more destructive than he is constructive. Black people specifically, because they consume most of his content, have a hard time living day in and day out. And when you see him kind of berate the women based off of what they think they want, he looks at them and he just checks them down like a used car.
Okay, so the first simp we have is this professor. Don't know much about him. Like I said, he was definitely against Kevin Samuels, and he was talking about how he checks him down like a used car, basically referring to how Kevin Samuels would, refer to the women as overweight, or, he would ask them their what they rank themselves on a scale of 1 through 10, etc. And that's relevant and that's important because that's how men see women. Like when we first meet a woman, the first thing we see is what you look like. So the fact that Kevin Samuels was being, I guess, descriptive or, just to the point about what a woman looks like physically, that's par for the course when it comes to meeting a man. The very first thing we do is, check out what she looking like.
And to kind of break that down, we're talking heights, weights, financial aspects, and so many different things. Shalakemia, what are your thoughts? Is he destructive or constructive for the culture?
I think he's constructive. I think he brings the truth.
He brings the truth.
Yes, he brings the truth to the black community, absolutely.
What type of truth? Rich Dollars want to know too.
Yeah, we need receipts.
I feel like we live in a world where it's so fake all the time. He's being realistic, which a lot of us should be, realistic with each other. Just like this young man said about him, talking about black women. Black women have bashed black men for years. When he comes to the table, he's having a conversation about a high value man. Some women that, I'm going to be honest, that are on government assistance are out here looking for a high value man to take care of them. But you're not even high value. You're not trying to become high value or anything.
That's the problem with relationships today. Relationships today have become so transactional. It's almost like a race. Who can get what from who before we get to the point of we have to give? And that's what this thing does. When you start to condone this type of behavior, when you start going for hyperbole, you lose substance.
Okay, so the second simp we have is a guy named Rich Dallas. Now, I am familiar with him. He was actually on Love and Hip Hop Hollywood, I believe, years ago. He's in his mid to late 40s. I think he's from that New York area. But anyhow, The more heavyset girl, Shalakemia, that was actually in agreement with Kevin Samuels, she basically said that he tells these women the truth and what they really are. Like, some of these women really are, coming to the table with these unrealistic expectations. And Kevin Samuels was one of the first big black podcasters that blew that narrative up in their face. Like, ma'am, you're average. Ma'am, you weigh more than a man. Like, those are very, very, very valid, critiques of some of these women. Like, these women come in here with these demands like they all that in a bag of chips, and they were really just mediocre or less. And the guy Rich Dollars, he's a major trick. He's known for tricking off on women. He's been in relationships with some of the more, I guess, low value industry chicks who done been passed around. And I ain't gonna get into all his past that I have seen, but like I said, if you want to know more about him, he was on Love and Hip Hop, and he a trick.
And I feel like that's what dude is doing now. It's about clickbait. It's about berating women because it makes sense for the betterment of his viewership.
Now, in some of his interviews, he does defend himself. He says, my viewpoints come from research, my viewpoint come from analytics, and he also says, you know what I'm telling the women is what the world don't want to tell them. Tiffany, you had an IG Live with Kevin Samuels. What was that experience like for you?
I think it was very reflective of how much he does seem to isolate women into various types of groups, whether he considers them to be high value or not. I really felt like my aesthetics were on trial. He asked me my dress size, he asked me how much I weighed, and he asked me my career path. I find his rhetoric to be very divisive amongst Black men and Black women, to the point where whether men have seen me on the interview or not, I hear Kevin's rhetoric over and over again as if they have just been socially engineered to be misogynistic, no matter if they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and even the older generations. I'm hearing it.
Okay, so this female, I remember her from Kevin Samuels' episode live back when he was still living. I remember her calling in specifically. I think at the time when she called in, she was in her mid to late 30s, so she's probably around 40 years old now. See the gray hairs in her head. She's a very, very beautiful woman. I love the natural hair. She don't have no lashes. Straight white teeth. She's beautiful. I have nothing against how she looks. She's gorgeous. I would date a woman that looks like her. That's my type. However, what Kevin Samuels was doing when he would ask these women these questions, she's talking about, I felt like my aesthetics was on trial. That's part of the course, man. Like, if you trying to get a high value man, your dress size and how you look matters. And if she was a little bit younger, she could definitely pull a high value man just because she looks so good and she's got a pretty smile. I don't know what her body looked like, but if she was like right around 30, she could easily get a dude that's like maybe around his mid to late 30s, maybe 40, 45, something like that, because she's young enough to get with a man that's a little older, but she's not too old to where they would overlook her for a girl that's like 20 something. So once again, beautiful woman, but she just doesn't understand what Kevin Samuels was trying to do. And she doesn't understand that those things are very, very important to a high value man, because outside of your looks and your body, it's not a whole lot more he's going to need from you. I mean, your looks and your body, that's half the battle, physical attraction. Then, of course, there's the other stuff, what type of woman you are. Can you cook? Are you clean? Are you feminine? Kevin Samuels was always talking about feminine, fit, and friendly. And she seems to have a positive attitude. Like I said, she smiles. Kevin Samuels was always talking about how Black women don't smile no more. She has major potential, but like I said, the critique that I have is that she was offended by him asking her those personal questions about her dress size and, judging her looks. That's part of the game if you're trying to get a high value man. A lot of people don't understand that his content was specifically started to try to make men high value, number one. And then when he brought the women in, that's when he started trying to teach the women what high value men actually valued.
Let's be for real, right? The men he's talking to, the men that follow him, are no better than incels. They're following this man because they're hurt and frustrated. He speaks out of hurt and anger. This dude is sitting behind a iPad spewing craziness for other frustrated black men. 90% of it is literally a hurt man going after women and telling them what they're worth and what they're not worth.
If somebody that was European was to do the same thing that Kevin Samuels is doing, we'd be up in arms. We'd be losing our minds.
So do you think he gets a free pass because he's a black man?
He doesn't get a free pass.
He doesn't get a free pass. And the reason we're here today is because
absolutely.
we're not giving him a free pass. The reason we're here today is for this conversation is because people actually want to get rid of his channel and do those type of things.
These two dudes sound like straight up haters, and no matter what they say, they will never, ever, ever have the relevance and the size platform that Kevin Samuels had before his untimely demise a couple of years ago. But yeah, I mean, I understand that they upset that he had a real hot show and people were resonating with what he was saying, and it was way more than incels that watched Kevin Samuels content. That's just ridiculous. As a matter of fact, Kevin Samuels wouldn't have been as big as he was without the women that were calling in to the show. So that's just not true.
So he's not getting a free pass.
I want to give Shalakemia a chance to respond to this. What are your thoughts? You're hearing both of their viewpoints. Do you agree or disagree with what they're sharing?
I'm not saying I agree with everything that he says, but I also, feel like there's a lot of truth there. I'm not the type of black woman that is looking for somebody high valued. I don't look at those kind of things. But we're going to be real. A lot of women do that.
Do they understand how many people make $100,000 a year? It's not a lot of people who make over 6 figures a year, and everybody seems to want the specific kind of person.
Does he exploit the vulnerability of black women?
Of black people.
Of black
Absolutely.
people. Absolutely. I think that Kevin Samuels says things that most of our people don't agree with. There's still going to be those people that do agree with. You might want to at least represent the masses as opposed to the minority. Most black women are not on welfare. Most black women don't do the things that he says that they do. But now you're making it seem as though that this is the masses, when in reality, this is the minority.
I'm a women's studies major. I went to an all-women's college. So I think it's very important to note that misogyny, patriarchy, all of these things are profitable. It is profitable to exploit women. It's profitable to berate them. It's profitable to have a narrative that is critical of women at a degree that I think is different than what men have to experience.
Okay, so this female right here identifies as a women's studies major or something like that. And she says that it's profitable to berate women, it's profitable to exploit women, etc., etc. Well, I don't know if she understands this, but Kevin Samuels' content was available for at least 3 to 4 years prior to him having that super viral moment where he told the chocolate black girl from North Carolina that she was average at best. And he was actually roasting black men who were subpar black males in his eyes. If Kevin Samuels didn't believe that you were grinding hard enough, if he didn't believe you were making enough money, like, he was hard on black men, and he often talked about how he was harder on black men than black women. So it may have seemed like he was berating black women, and there were some moments where his rhetoric may have come off as very harsh if you weren't used to his content. But man, guess what? Before Kevin Samuels, we as black men, and this goes even before my time, and I'm a millennial, I'm an 80s baby. Way back in the day, for the past, we talked about this years ago, how there has never really been a black male talk show or culture of black men getting on live TV or national talk shows like Ricky Lake and what's the other one? Jenny Jones and Oprah Winfrey. Like, all these daytime talk shows, the black man was demonized and excoriated by black women for decades. And when a black man finally blew up and he started actually putting the mirror up to the black woman and saying, hey, you look at you. Like, who are you to demand this type of man? Like, you want all these things from a man, but ma'am, what are you bringing to the table? Can you cook? How much do you weigh? Are you cooperative? Like, he asked these women those questions and they couldn't take it because black women, and on a macro level, women, period, but specifically black women, because that's who Kevin Samuels' show mostly attracted, hate accountability. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the video up here. That's most of the video. The actual content itself is only like 8.5 minutes long. Revolt Black News is where you can find it. I don't know where you would go look for it, but it's on the internet. Like I said, it came across my Twitter feed. People just be uploading stuff, and I just had to do a reaction to it. And you know, you're more than welcome to watch the content for yourself and see what you think about it. But you know, like I said, 2 simps, 1 female, and then there's a couple of females that's actually you know, asking questions and offering their input. The girl with the short hair, you know, she sounds like a feminist. She's an attractive woman, not really my type. I'm into the more kinky natural hair. But the other girl, she looks like she might be African, like she might be Ethiopian or something like that, Somalian, whatever. I don't know, but she's definitely not American because you can look at her last name. But yeah, man, that's the end of the video. I'm not gonna say a whole lot more. I just wanted to react to this video because this type of, you know, rhetoric, this type of thinking, this type of mindset exists amongst a lot of black women, number one. And then when it comes to black men, they are the battery in their backs because they encourage it. The simps encourage it. They agree with them and coddle them, and that doesn't make things any better. That keeps the delusion and the foolishness going along. Like, you got 2-3 kids by 2-3 baby daddies, and you weigh over 225 pounds, and you want a man that's making $100,000 a year, and you telling him that you're not having intercourse until you get married. But other men done got your box. You're not even finna give him the best body and the best vagina you got to offer because somebody else done already had it. Some other man done already put babies in you, and you want to make these demands for these other guys that, you know, can go get younger, better looking, less used women. He always talked about how, name me a product that you can go buy and it gets used and used and used, and it's still worth just as much when you first bought it. Same concept with a lot of these women out here, especially if you done had babies, especially if you done had all kind of bodies run up in you, and that's just what it is, and they couldn't take it. So I'm done talking. Y'all make sure y'all like, comment, let me know what you think. I'll catch y'all on the next one.